Hello and welcome. This is Transformation to Queen, helping women realize abundance in their kingdom by Crystal Meach. Hi, I'm Crystal Meach, and I'll be going through the webinar. This is my very first webinar. I'm so excited to share this with you. I started working with this material back in 2018 after I went through a divorce. And I knew that my results were a big part of me taking back my power. And what I mean by that is understanding your mindset and how you create in this world, because we are all creators. We're not debtors, we're not creditors, we are creators. And I definitely learned about that in the financial sector. I was an accountant for 18 years. And again, I knew that the results I was getting just weren't, there was more to meet the eye than what I was seeing. And it all came back to my mindset. So we're going to look here in your mindset, and you're going to start by journaling. And as you learn and understand how your mind works, you'll start to see changes in your life, such as in your relationships. And in this webinar, we're going to be focusing on your most intimate relationship. But once you realize how you're reflecting what is inside to your outer world, you're going to see immediate results, and you're going to start to change those results. And that's going to exponentially change in your world. It's not just going to be in relationships. It's going to be in your finances. It's going to be in just your everyday life. Everything's going to change. And that's the really exciting part of doing this work. So I'm so excited to share this. And thank you again for your support. And let's get started. Just going to put this in the corner so you can kind of see me. Welcome, dear future queen. It is with great honor that I bring this wisdom to you, and I can only hope that those worthy enough to take its advice will pass it on to the many women who can receive it with great privilege. We all have a story. May this help you on your path to the road that few take. If you're reading this, you are probably a handful of women that are waking up to a reality where you realize that there has to be something more. If that's you, know that there is more, and it is seeking you just as you are seeking it. I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, and cheers to that. Sincerely, Crystal Meach. So we're going to be walking through where you are now, and then we're going to have a vow to the code. And this is actually part of Alison Armstrong's work, which is called the Queen's Code. And we're coming to a vow, and we're understanding our own thoughts and how we create from those thoughts. And this vow will help us on that journey. So then we're going to go into awareness, more awareness of how we think and feel and create. And then we're going to have a space to allow healing for once we understand how our thinking creates our reality. And then that's where the transformation happens. We'll be focusing, chapter 5 is probably the largest chapter here, and where all the work comes in. And then we'll be stepping into a new being, which is to be the queen. So we're going to start with where you are now. So start off with a journal or notebook and pen. If you like to type, you can use a computer. You will be given exercises to help you understand your mindset. So you use the exercises in the order of the book, in this case, the webinar, and each exercise builds on the prior exercise. So you want to do it in order. So this is going to affect all facets of your life, relationships, career, and finances. And it's best to keep this information confidential until you've worked all the exercises. So let's start with where you are now. This program is for you if you experienced any of the following. You experience distance in your relationships, especially intimate relationships. Like I said, I mentioned when I first came upon this material, I was going through a divorce. So I was definitely trying to understand my results. You may find you blame yourself for your flaws and are exhausted trying to perfect yourself. You blame others for their flaws and are exhausted trying to do everything for everyone. You find that others are not capable or can't complete tasks as well as you can. You do well in corporate settings as you work tirelessly to move up the corporate ladder. You're overwhelmed by having a family, a demanding career, a partner, all these things competing for your time. And if you're single, you may wonder why relationships don't ever seem to work out. And the last one, maybe you've experienced trouble conceiving a family. So where you are now, you may realize your life is not what you had in mind when you took on that career, relationship, or family. And meanwhile, you see a queen. She is abundant, magnetic, confident. And how did she get that way? And let our journey begin. So I'm just going to move this down here for now. So take out your notebook. So we're going to go through a series of exercises where you will just write whatever comes to mind upon reading each sentence. The more you write, the more will be revealed to you, or for you to go back and see what your mind has revealed. This will help you identify your thoughts. Okay, you notice distance in your current or past relationships, such as silence, quiet in your presence, lack of trust or divulging details, and short interactions. Write it down as it pertains to any relationships with family, coworkers, and or friends. And it might make sense to stop the webinar and do the writing and then go back to the webinar. Okay, now write down all of your flaws. For example, if you are X, if you have this flaw, Y would love you more. So if I was prettier, my boyfriend would love me more. That's just a simple example. You may have been led to believe that love comes from perfecting yourself. This happens easily in society, your upbringing, and conditioning. Write down all the things you want right now. Write down all the things you're getting or not getting. Okay, write down and expand on any of these. Men can't communicate. Men can't be trusted. Men are workaholics. Nothing gets done around the house. In a recent argument, I felt hostility, bluntness, anger. Write down and expand on any of these. My partner is distant, defensive, uncommunicative. Man is a bank account. There's high expectations. Men are expected to initiate everything and provide everything. Men are expected to listen with sympathy and compassion. Men are your boyfriend and your girlfriend. On top of providing income, men are expected to be there emotionally. Women expect men to know what they want. So here's some more that you can write on. The last time you gave a man credit for what he provided. The last time you were impressed by a man. You expect more and more from your partner. You treat man as a child. You can't talk about emotional significance or intimacy. You can't be vulnerable. You can't expose the shame in your life. You feel that working out or a fit body will improve your sex life. You see intimacy with your partner as sex, not making love. You regret how bad your relationship has gotten or ended. You only see your partner as a breadwinner and child's father. You have bitter resentments and grudges. You miss this man prior to his change. Notice the toll when you look in the mirror. Worry lines in the forehead, sharp edge of the jawline, thinness of the lips, disappointment, resentment, hard-driven self-sufficiency, despair, distraught, abandoned, betrayed, maybe even rage. If you went through the last 6 pages and openly and honestly wrote down everything that came to mind, give yourself a break because none of that was easy. And notice the space you had to be in order to do that. A space that was soothing, detached, patient, open, confidential. You just gave yourself a gift. This is the first step in receiving like a queen. So after you come back from that break and you open up that notebook, realize men are blamed for what women no longer accepted. Men are considered the enemy. Women are programmed to prove that they don't need men at all. And this is validated in our culture. There's no support for men to open up and listen in a way that they need to be heard. Denial of giving men the energy to provide and the inspiration to act. There's language lost in translation. Women can't see that both men and women have power at the same time. Women have the view that when men succeed, women are losing. And congratulations, you made it through chapter 1. So chapter 2, a vow to the code. Why doesn't everyone have this knowledge? Well, first of all, it can't be forced on anyone. You have to be open to a new point of view. You have to be committed to a deeper understanding of men and women. It takes courage to let go of old beliefs. It takes courage to question your own perceptions, especially when they're validated by our culture, and it takes patience. Why doesn't everyone have this knowledge? When you change the way you look at things, the way things look change. Now your relationships will start to change. You're going to start to have compassion for those that don't have the knowledge, but mean well. An inside transformation will change the outside. and women can't conceal their true selves. So whether you're in a relationship or married or divorced, like I was when I first got this, you still benefit from this program, because as you look at how you view your partner, it's really a projection from how you feel about yourself. So esoteric knowledge of men. So we're going to look at men and illuminate their life, and that's going to help you illuminate who you are on the inside. Men go through stages of development, and they evolve in a predictable and an unavoidable pattern. By learning about men, it helps illuminate their life. It helps show men's experience of being loved, appreciated, and truly understood. When men feel understood, they're inspired to do everything they can to give women what they need and to make them happy. When both sexes can communicate, they have a better relationship. Men need a clear and simple to act upon way to communicate with women. When their relationship is meaningful, men feel a privilege to be married and more deeply in love. Now we attempt to create a partnership with the women that desire to understand men. She has a strong desire to understand men. She has a commitment to nurture her union and family. She has a desire to improve interactions with young men and men in community. She contributes this knowledge to others, and she makes this knowledge available to women when they're ready for it. She makes a commitment to discovering how she brought out the worst in men and now brings out the best in men. We live in a dual reality. Our perception might be one way, but it's actually not that way. Women have assumptions about men that are mistakes. Men are selfish, untrustworthy, and motivated by foolish things. So here are our goals. Women antagonize the most primitive aspects of men. When women can also bring out the best in men. And there's 5 words that resonate with a man's spirit, heart, and soul. Women connect with the noble essence of men. This is a call to action. This language fulfills his purpose as a man. It brings satisfaction to him found nowhere else. Women have to be in a certain place for these words to even resonate. She must be a queen to herself. She must be a queen to her relationship to life. She must be a queen in her relationship to men. So again, we go back to the queen. The queen is abundant. She's magnetic and she's confident. Women's attitude of ignorance. She thinks men are unwilling to act because she doesn't know the words. This is not true. She will need to make a dramatic transformation to understand the language. She would have to let go of anger, self-righteousness, and self-deprecation. There's no progress without honesty. She should continue to keep this confidential as she is learning and going through this transformation. Self-care is really important at this point. And we'll find that regret is a good teacher and can be healing. And don't recriminate yourself for the past. You can't go back. You did the best you could, and with the knowledge you had at the time. And now you have new knowledge and a new way of creating your reality. So apologize and move on. Don't beat yourself up. Suffering should not continue. And it's a good practice to teach this once you learn it and give your own examples. So get out your notebook again and make a vow that you'll commit to this transformation. Write down that you will be open to listen and learn. We end chapter 2 with homework. Write down what you think about men, what pops into your head, and notice what is happening when you're angry, affronted, confused, hurt, disappointed, or baffled. Sometimes when a circumstance happens to women, they experience shame and they suffer in silence. You can only release that shame by overcoming what happened. So bad things that happen don't continue on forever. And good things won't disappear at any moment. Worry leads women to lose their faith. Congratulations on finishing chapter 2. So now we're getting into chapter 3, awareness. And we're going to go back to our notebook and look at what we wrote down. So you might have wrote down about men. They're lazy, clueless, slobs, insensitive, inconsiderate, selfish, self-centered babies, leave the garage door open, not taking out the trash, messy office, not paying attention to how I feel, gloating, hurting me as if he doesn't know what he did, feeling sorry for himself, dense, simpleton, slow, stupid, idiot, competitive, dull, butthead, horny, and short-sighted. So that's the list that I have here, but you might have a completely different list. Until you notice your thoughts, they think you. You have no choice about your actions. An understanding of where your thinking comes from gives you freedom. Go back to that exercise. Notice what action by the man triggered the thought. No matter what happens, what the man does, you don't have control over him. You do have control over your thoughts and feelings. How you feel about what happened is in your control, and you are creating every moment with those feelings and thoughts. So all the labels that you made compared to what? So say he was a horny asshole. Compared to what? Compared to a woman? Did you ever think that each quality listed is relative compared to something else and not absolute? Did you realize you're comparing men to a perfect person that you created as a construct in your brain as part of your ego based on the past? So let's go back to horny asshole. So all men are horny assholes. Based on what? Based on what you think in your head? Being able to let go of a righteous, entitled person is a key to creating a partnership. When you want to help someone, you always want to ask first. Woman's comparison of men to the perfect person. Is a man or a woman more likely to be the perfect amount of the perfect qualities at the perfect time? Is your idea of perfection based on what a woman could or should be? This determines your attitude and presupposes that there's only one set of perceptions, motivations, responses, strengths, abilities, and attributes of women. The assumption is that men are meant to be duplicates of women. It assumes that men don't have wholly unique capacities. This belief creates limitations. You can't see your own brilliance, and you can't see his. When women compare a man to a female-based perfect person, they don't see a man. They see a hairy woman, a defective, ill-made, malfunctioning, dysfunctional woman. He doesn't fit the perfect person, so he is, quote unquote, misbehaving. By having this perception, she believes he intentionally is not doing what he should be doing. Then she needs an explanation, a story. He doesn't love me enough. He doesn't respect me enough. If he did, he would have done X. He would initiate doing X rather than having me nag him. I'll think of a simple example. He wouldn't take out the trash. So he doesn't love me enough to take out the trash. I have to tell him to take out the trash every day. So when a man fails to do what you constructed in your mind with your thoughts and feelings as to what he should be doing, is it because he doesn't love you enough, he doesn't respect you enough, or he doesn't care enough? He didn't care enough to take the trash out. So you may want to get out your notebook and journal on this. So when you feel hurt, disappointed, angered, offended, or frustrated by a man's actions or inactions, did he think the thought, have the feeling? Or did you have the thought and feeling that was triggered by the construct you created in your mind? So this doesn't apply to everyone, but we're going to look at an example. A woman is taking this course right now, and she grew up without a father in her life. And she goes through this exercise. She might have lived for years thinking that her father not being in her life was due to him not loving or caring enough to be part of her life. Then she may go back and blame herself. What did she do wrong? Was something wrong with her? If she was more of something or less of something? Under the concept of the perfect person, if she was perfect, he would be motivated to act perfectly. So there might be a wound going back to your childhood, and that's not for everyone, but where you felt that if you would have done something, you would be loved more. So in other words, pain comes with love. Pain is conditional. So I have to do something in order to receive love. And that's a major wound to think about, because love and pain are separate. They're not together. And if you're creating from love and you need love and pain, then you're going to see that in your world. You see that in your relationships. You'll see that in your career. So if men are not behaving because women are not perfect enough to deserve their love, care, and respect, perfection is not the source of men's behavior. The notion that men are misbehaving in the first place comes from the expectation to act with women's concept of the perfect person. This dooms women to failure and ruins her self-image. So if a woman stops expecting men to act like the perfect person she created in her own mind, and she stops taking it personally when he doesn't act like that perfect person, a woman has to stop defending her behavior. She thinks this works with men because it works with women. Women are instinctively motivated by being protected and provided for by having perfection, pleasing perception, not too perfect to cause jealousy. It drives women to improve themselves, but not stand out, responds automatically to others' needs and preferences, and she keeps track of what's expected of her. So she adapts without thinking about how they created expectation of others, which is instinctive. It's not based on love, being cared for, and being respected. In comparison, men are internally motivated. They're more likely to follow their own path. People may perceive this as stubborn. Men don't adapt due to a lack of feeling for women. The only way a woman can compel a man to act is to connect with his inner world and inner sense of self. There is a language that connects women with men, and you're about to learn it, Queen. So let's go and do some more homework. Did you notice a time where you believed men are misbehaving? And it can be as simple as my husband doesn't take out the trash, or he he leaves the sock out on the floor and doesn't put it in the waste basket or the laundry basket. So why doesn't he do that? He's misbehaving. That's like a simple example. But I could also think of like a corporate example, like like I can think of like in my own experience of a vice president, and say we're in the boardroom and we're talking about, I don't know, the latest numbers. I'm a previous accountant. So we're looking at the latest numbers, and we go to page 76, and there's a number, and he's supposed to look at the chart of accounts. And a woman may say, why doesn't he know that detail? So he's misbehaving because he doesn't know that detail for that one number. But really, that wasn't part of his result. So is he really misbehaving when you gave him the expectation to do the whole packet, and one number doesn't have the detail? So that's like one I can think of. So beyond men misbehaving, is there an action or punishment as a result of this thinking and feeling? And so a good example might be if he's not taking out the trash, maybe you're not in the mood for sex. Maybe, that might be some way that you punish him, or maybe you have resentment that he doesn't remember to put the socks in the laundry basket. And notice the effect on men during and after punishment. When men are misbehaving, the explanation is almost always there is something wrong with her, except when she has changed herself in every conceivable way, and men don't change their behavior. They conclude that something is wrong with the man. Okay, so women were not born with what causes men, without what causes men to love women. They instinctively love women. Women still don't get what they need, and the damage to a woman's self-esteem is unbearable. Women blaming themselves makes it easier to take. Women can't get what they need no matter how much they put into changing themselves. And when this happens, it's a deep hurt. They react with anger. The hurt is not healed. And then it becomes resentment. And resentment turns to bitterness. And women operate on this assumption. People know when they hurt us, and they don't care enough to heal us. Actually, people are unaware of the hurt they caused. They don't operate inside your brain. By having awareness, we can be responsible for getting what we need before anger builds up and bitterness progresses. Often women punish men for the hurt she is feeling. Did you ever tell him that you were hurt? Or did you just go and punish him? And did you expect him to know your expectations of him? If men are not misbehaving, then what are they doing? What if there's a good reason for everything that men do? Men can't be trusted to act like women. Women trust men to be what they can't be, which is women. And I know in society, we're seeing this transgender movement where men are trying to become women, but does that really work? Is that person, no offense to them, but is that person truly a woman if they weren't born a woman? I mean, why can't they accept themselves for who they naturally are? Why do they need to fix themselves? And that's just my own personal opinion. Then women blame men for what men can't be. So take your notebook and write down your concept of the perfect person. Notice how the perfect person evolved over time as you learned, grew, and changed. Everyone has a different concept of the perfect person. Other women have different concepts of the perfect person. Notice how if you don't fit the concept, you don't like yourself. This is the violence that you create, bringing your outer reality to completion. Do you now see how you don't win and how men compared to that concept also don't win? So it's the same with the transgender. They feel that they are not a perfect person based on who they are naturally. And I can only imagine the pain of feeling that way, of not accepting yourself and creating the violence within your body. And I wish so much healing. And as you understand how the concept of the perfect person leaves you not able to win. And if you're not able to win, then your partner can't win either, because 2 + 2 = 4, and 2 - 1 is 1. So if you want more power, you both have to be empowered. And if one is weaker, then both the partnership is weaker. Homework. So I'm going to tell you to watch the Barbie movie. It just came out in 2023. And I have a couple questions for you. Do you see how Barbie treats Ken? How is Midge and Alan treated? And in the first part, why do the girls beat their baby dolls? Why does Barbie go to the gynecologist at the end of the movie? And then I'm also going to ask you to watch the Matrix movie, 1999. Does Neo take the blue or red pill? And which character wants to return to his perfect but unreal life? Can you see the illusions that you can choose to break out of? What standard do men hold women to? By holding men to a standard, women have to be judgmental. If men are truly not misbehaving, why do they do what they do? Is there a good reason for what they do? Does this stop the impulse to punish them? Have you tried asking a man if he has a good reason for what he's doing? Have you opened yourself up to the possibility that you don't know it? So the next time you have a one-on-one conversation with a man, pay attention and listen. Look at how you ask your question. Is it accusatory? If so, did you receive a defensive reaction, like he was attacked? Does he have a good reason for being defensive after you accused him? Stop and state you are trying to understand him better. Ask if he is willing to tell you why he did something that way. Then stop and listen without interruption. You may ask a question and not hear a response right away. Because you didn't hear a response, don't assume he doesn't understand the question. And don't rephrase the question. He may not be able to respond immediately. Don't give him a multiple choice answer. Don't be irritated. Just listen in silence. Men don't think like women. Men's brains are wired to pay attention to one thing at a time. They're committed to putting their attention on one thing. He is hunting for the best answer. If you interrupt a man with another question or rephrase your first question, you just interrupted his hunt for the best answer. And you just showed that you don't care about his answer because he didn't get a chance to answer. Since you didn't care, he gives up because he can't win. So he might look a little bit stubborn to you. Try just focusing on one question. Then open your mind. Listen without interruption. He'll tell you when he's done. Here's what women like to do. They like to go back and forth, share thoughts and ideas, share experiences. Men just want you to listen. No multitasking. Once he starts talking, don't interrupt. Let him tell you when he's done. Men are not shallow for not answering the question right away. Let a man say something beyond his first sentence. By interrupting, you're just skimming the surface. One can only see the beauty of others by this and the self by opening their heart. One must truly love oneself to open one's eyes to their own strength and beauty. Women can only see beauty through men's eyes. They can't see beauty through their own eyes. The inside reflects the outside. And women are not single focused. They can often be thinking inside their own head while having a conversation. This makes them not present in the conversation. They're missing out on the whole conversation. The result of punishing men drives them away, drives men to silence. Women don't realize it doesn't work. Women don't get what they need. When men have power, they feel strong, maybe even conceited. They look conceited. Women punish men by interrupting them, criticizing them, cold shoulder, and they're unimpressed by them. This is conditioned as early as in school. And most schools have women for teachers. How men respond. They're shocked, dismayed, their shoulders droop, their head hangs, there's a loss of power, a stolen bravado, and they feel weak. How do women feel after his loss of power? Comfortable again. As a woman reflects on this process, how she took a man's power, she has to process the damage she did, reconcile the damage she did, forgive herself for the damage she did, realize her suffering, and then may turn self-critical. She saves herself future suffering. What does awareness provide? Compassion, perspective, understanding, a new solution, and it deduces the critical and makes space for love. Why do women feel safer when men are weak? This is a natural outcome of comparing men to the perfect person, the ideal woman. So go back to that Barbie movie. Can you name the scenes where women compare men to the perfect person? Men are considered less than for not being women, something they can't be, even if they go through a gender transition. Compared to the perfect person, men are doing the wrong thing on purpose, misbehaving. Once labeled as misbehaving, she justifies punishing them, taking away their power. If she sees men as a group, all men's power should be taken away. Barbie movie, what happens? This is how most women relate to men. They're not trustworthy and bad. There are bad people in society, but that is not absolute. Women often conclude, especially if experienced from childhood, that men are not trustable or bad. The outcome is she spends a lifetime defending herself against all men. She doesn't just defend the ones who deserve it. She defends the men who don't deserve it. By believing she should defend herself, she attacks all men. Healthy, honorable men have to defend themselves against her. Men are single-focused. They can't defend a woman and protect her at the same time. They have to defend themselves against her attacks. This leaves women on their own when most men would have protected her. Women's weapons are used to defend her behavior: castration and emasculation. She deprives men of strength, power, and efficiency, and she seeks to weaken men. And she doesn't realize that when she's doing this, she's also weakening herself and her power. When men are attacked, they are backed into a corner, thus having to defend themselves. Men can't think in that situation. They must react by instinct. This is pressure with no relief. He's struggling to control his most defensive response. This response is often the most regrettable. By castration or emasculation, women are diminishing men. Their attitude is to diminish men, bringing out the worst in men. So quick to attack men that they don't even have a chance. So the long-term effects of castrating men, they react to women that's opposite his nature. They keep their distance from women. They won't seek intimacy from women. They compete with women rather than cherishing them. They anticipate women with suspicion rather than trust. Instead of respecting women, treat them with disdain. Relate to women from fear rather than love. And there's more violence in the world. Women are not safer. By battling your defensive reactions, you create compassion. The truth sets you free. Go back to your heart, childlike state, innocence, open, loving, and whole. Think of a newborn baby. And what is a newborn baby? They are pure love. They don't know conditions. That's the state that you should go back to in your heart. Just feel that and know that. Castrating men includes ignoring, interrupting, and accusing men of trying to control a woman. When a man is castrated, he has an immediate emotional response: shock, dismay, disbelief, a loss of power, rage, and fury. Even in rage, they still have more concern for women's safety. To protect her, he intentionally disarms himself. Women are not safer by causing men to feel rage or fury. What is the role of castration in domestic abuse? Not castrating makes a woman safer. Long-term effects of castration, emasculation. Compete instead of cherish. Keep a distance. Don't seek intimacy. Approach with suspicion instead of trust. Treat with disdain instead of respect. Relate from fear rather than love. So here's some homework. Talk to the men in your life. Ask them if there was a time where you emasculated them. Notice how you emasculate men. Deprivation of strength, power, and seek to weaken. Pay attention to how and when other women castrate men. Observe how other women react when they witness a man being emasculated. Notice how men react to being emasculated. A man feeling bad is not the same as being emasculated. It's when he has a reduced ability to produce results. Are you ready to lay down your sword and your weapons? How do you feel upon realizing that a man has tried to impress you? It might be good to write it down in your notebook. You may feel illuminated, ecstasy, and pain at the same time, a realization of how vulnerable men are to your reactions. So, what happened after your commitment? Did you ever take your partner for granted? Did you ever realize his kindness and generosity was just for you? Did you realize that was his purpose? When women emasculate men, they diminish both their own power and his power. And here's some examples of emasculating men. Putting men in their place, no interest in their work, can't see men's passion, won't listen, don't see engagement and dedication in their work, attitude toward husband and men. They're comparing them to women, rolling their eyes at the pace of men, impatience with men, comparing men to women, denying help from men, comparison to the perfect person, not appreciating all they provide, especially money, disapproval of men, lack of acknowledgement, showing men are not worth being noticed, ignoring men's comments and suggestions, rolling their eyes at men, viewing joking around as misbehaving, overt hostility when men congratulate themselves, and women's use of words, gestures, tones, and attitudes. Men use words for different reasons than women. So we're going to give the example of the storytelling phase of the hunt. Most men behave and think as warriors. In each phase of the hunt, language has a different purpose. In the storytelling phase, men relive an accomplishment. This teaches a moral lesson. It encourages others, proves the value of a method. It empowers himself with his own juice, hormones. It causes a surge in his body, and he recovers power and energy spent on the hunt. This is why men tell stories over and over, and women don't usually repeat stories. How women use language and words. Estrogen shapes their brain for gathering and tending. Women experience an enormous amount of information in gathering. They gain experience by gathering. She relays her experience back to the tribe. She expects others to listen and retain, and she doesn't repeat. To her, repeating is an insult to others' intelligence and memories. How men experience power and happiness. In their upper chest, shoulders, neck, lungs. So a loss of power is crushed, their body caving in, and a loss of air. To realize this diminishment of power, a woman has a choice. Defend her actions or give up her right to diminish men. Do you take this vow to give up your right to diminish men? This vow is to adhere to a code of honor and conduct. You learn to live from this vow, to develop a new understanding of men, develop a new set of reactions to men. And by taking this vow, the transformation begins. Your relationships begin to change. Your relationships with other women start to change as they notice you have changed. You kept this teaching confidential. Friends may call asking for help, and while you hope to be useful, you notice that your despair has changed to hope. You may notice a friend's relationship in crisis with her husband. The kids are asking for their father, and he hasn't come home, or there's signs that he is distant. You may remember your previous conversations with your friends as conversing about gossip, social media, and it probably involved bad mouthing others. It has changed. You ask how you can help, and what does she need? You may notice how you're more open to listen without interruption. And you may experience a different reaction when she tells you about the problems she is having with her husband, such as silence and confliction. You may now see the duality, both sides of the story, even though you only heard one side of the story. You may now empathize with both the woman and man's feelings, and other women may feel dejected by your change in attitude or ability to see beyond just her feelings. Explain that you're not abandoning your relationship, but your previous thoughts. Realize your friend may or may not be open to the transformation you are going through. If the friend doesn't want to change and continues to belittle her most intimate relationship, ask her what if there's a good reason for what he does. If she accuses you of taking his side, state you're not justifying his behavior. You're trying to understand his behavior, such as why would he say something like that? Or why was the worst brought out in him? Upon having this conversation with a close friend, you may realize that the changes are starting to take hold in your own life and you're moving past duality. The illusion you have locked your brain into feeling. You may have done this subconsciously and are now conscious. You are making choices about your thoughts and feelings and not reacting. If you are married or in a relationship, you may feel a little overwhelmed by the awareness in this program about women and men. You may feel that as a single woman, you have less to react to and not as many moments of frustration because you're not always being triggered. Patience. Rewards are coming. Realize that all the ways you may have emasculated your husband or partner was mostly by withholding appreciation, admiration, sex, participation, trust. Realize your assumptions about him are wrong. By treating him like a woman or compared to a perfect person, he had no signs of relief. Women will discover the price of her behavior. Intimacy, love, sharing, attention, respect, affection, partnership, marriage. She may feel bankrupt. Her new way of being involves letting go of nagging, criticizing, needling, and withholding. Examples of ways women emasculate men. They withhold appreciation, admiration, participation, sex. They don't let them impress you, compare men unfavorably to someone else, don't trust them, assume insincerity, don't need them for anything important to you, disinterest in their passions, complain, expect them to act like women, don't let them help you, demean their earning abilities, blow off their suggestions, ideas, ignore them, criticize them, interrupt them, rolling your eyes, scoffing sounds, impatience, taking over something you delegated to them, demean their virility, and shut down their storytelling. If you're single, you will be more open and receptive to men, and you may attract more men. These changes will intrigue a man. He will be attracted to you physically and see your body as a work of art. And you will now understand that his attraction and admiration for your figure would have previously been maybe an initial scowl, to ignore him, to put your chin up. And this in him causes him to be more blatant to get a reaction. But when you're more open and acknowledge his admiration, he sees you have read below the surface of his appearance, remarks, and attraction. So he sees that you recognized him admiring you. He wants to be seen by you, to know you more deeply, know you in your entirety. He feels real, whole in entirety. He doesn't feel the need to compete. He might be older, but not necessarily. He's looking for ways to encourage and support you. He's looking for you to be a receiver of all he wants to provide. It's pretty hard to find that these days. So your value just went up, queen. You may notice the following changes upon coming to this point in the program, since you've stopped emasculating men. You're listening openly. You're observing women emasculate men. Men may tell you their plans for the future. You may witness the demise of a friend's marriage or relationship with a different you. Men will be asking if you're okay. They'll care more and they'll show it. And men will be more protective of you. Thinking back to when you were single and a man noticed you, you may have previously had the following reactions: an unpleasant experience. Maybe you were previously frightened by a man openly noticing and improving your body. Lust scared you and you ignored him, but could still feel his eyes following you. Then you would recognize these behaviors are emasculating. When you ignore a man, he becomes more blatant, treats you with disdain instead of respect. And notice there was not disrespect in the initial appraisal. It grew over time. It may be when a man was noticing you, you felt objectified, reduced to one dimension, like he was a jerk or an asshole. But now that you understand his admiration for you, you may have genuine appreciation, feel uplifted, not diminished, and beautiful, not just like a sex object. His protectiveness may make you feel safer. Objectification of women is the equivalent of emasculation of men. The point of both is to diminish power. Diminish to a level the person doing the objectifying can handle. This gives them the illusion of control. Notice I said illusion. Men naturally appreciate women's beauty, sexuality, intellect, humor, and needs. If a man can keep his power, he won't be overwhelmed by her power. Hold on a second. Okay, so men naturally appreciate women's beauty, sexuality, intellect, humor, and needs. If a man can keep his power, he won't be overwhelmed by her power. If a man is triggered by her power, the solution would be to give him more power. Choice, more power or weaker. Every time a woman emasculates a man, she isn't reinforcing her own feelings of weakness. It might be fear, frustration, and it disempowers both the man and woman. Emasculation and objectification are deadly weapons. It's an illusion that it's a natural way to defend oneself. And it creates a vicious cycle. When a woman is not on offense, acting like a tough girl or defense, a scared rabbit all the time. She is more calm, happy, powerful, more attractive, and pleasant to be around. Understanding men. They're easily overwhelmed by women, very sensitive to women, fascinated, nurtured, enlivened, inspired by women. They need women, are aware of this need, and they accept it. They work on getting enough of women, and they also need sex. They're nurtured by the presence of women, even if they're not talking to that woman. For example, a young child that's playing soccer, a boy that's playing soccer, he's nurtured by the presence of his mother, even though his mother is sitting on the sideline watching the game. When a woman is happy, a man's energy is recharging. So giving up the right to castrate men, you may still have a knee-jerk reaction to fear, frustration, and pressure. And it takes time to replace old habits and replace it with the language of heroes. It takes time to gain confidence your needs will be met. And you must give up the practice of treating men like they are misbehaving. Stop believing men deserve to be punished. Challenge the attitude that limiting men's power is needed for women to be safe. It doesn't mean giving up the right to protect yourself. Stop justifying emasculating men. No longer rationalize your behavior and apologize. Stop mothering men, asking if they're okay. Declare independence from the tyranny of perfect person, the need to punish and be righteous, the burden of policing men's behavior, and trying to make men act like women. Men are resilient and vulnerable, but they're not fragile. Learning to trust men. It takes time. Learn what they can be trusted for. They have a good reason for what they do. You must give up the right to castrate them. This requires faith and determination in yourself, men, teachings, the ability to meet men on a physical, a level playing field, which is all about being a queen, and then faith and feminine power. And when I say feminine, I don't mean feminist power. Have a determination to have a relationship with men based on being partners, not enemies. The language of heroes, how it is manipulated in culture. Men are seen as adversaries. The use of information is such as this is used to castrate and emasculate men more. It's hard to find instances in the media of men and women honoring each other. Information should be used for good and to strengthen your partnerships with men, and let go of righteous indignation. So awareness. Here's some homework. Notice when you're triggered to emasculate a man. Notice how you react having given up the right to do that. And don't beat yourself up if you did it. Just stop and apologize. You took a vow to discover who men are and to intentionally empower them. In the process, you go through a transformation which empowers you. You're reversing your previous cycle. Your trigger points you back to your power, which is your thoughts and feelings. This is how you create every moment. Giving up the right to castrate men. It's easier, it's less exhausting, it's more fun, it's freedom, and it puts you in your natural feminine power as a woman. You'll notice that you previously maybe wore black, brown, navy, and you'll notice that those colors feel dull and masculine. Your wardrobe may feel constraining, stiff, dull. It may feel boxed in, restricted, and uncomfortable. You'll no longer feel the need to patrol men. Other women may feel betrayed by this. Men may compete to provide for you and disappointed if you decline their offer. Men are happy providing more difficult tasks based on your need and urgency. You may find that younger men and boys are more cooperative and attentive. Young men will offer to do things for women. As you made the change, men's attitude and behavior becomes more supportive of you. You'll notice all the things that were nagging at you in your house, laundry, dishes, cleaning, are no longer a heavy weight. There's not as much urgency to get these done. You'll notice physical changes. You may wear less makeup and your face is totally different. You'll have a soft, lovely face, like your skull will be gone, your jaw will be relaxed, your eyes will be wide and open, rose-colored cheeks. Your physique will be more shapely, narrow waist, shapely legs, and fuller hips. You'll have a gentler and more feminine and more effective appearance. You'll see an increase in production from men, and the look that you have will be similar to when you fall in love. Your lips will no longer be thin and tight, and the creases in your forehead will disappear. Your biggest challenge in processing this information is allowing men to express their naturally caring and generous nature. You're going to start becoming more efficient in letting men and women provide for you. You'll notice the usefulness of your discomfort. Pain and pleasure are both valuable. They're both teachers. By only experiencing pleasure, you stay bound to your suffering, your duality, your way of thinking. This leaves you stuck and not open to a new way of thinking and feeling. Now that you are realizing your feminine power, you're learning receiving, which is one of the most important aspects to being a queen. You're learning to receive. You're facing your beliefs about self-sufficiency. You're facing your belief about independence. And you're facing your belief about worth and power. And you're allowing someone to contribute to you. You're questioning your value and other people's motivations. And you're learning your graciousness and brilliance. Realize your state of mind and heart, a state of asking for permission. By asking, you go through the transformation. Take out your notebook and ask to receive. Notice how this leaves you in a state of gratefulness, grateful to receive. The masculine brain is single-focused on one result. It commits itself to the accomplishment of that result, and it screens out everything irrelevant to that result. An example, the socks on the floor, the messy house, is irrelevant if that is not part of the result. It takes no effort to screen out what is irrelevant. He doesn't even have to consciously screen it out. It's only worth doing if it's part of his result. The feminine brain is multi-focused. Her energy is taxed by the messy house. She has to read or watch a movie in order to find peace from the external. Everything in a woman's world is talking to her, demanding her energy to do something about it. So a messy house to a woman may be loud and disruptive, which is why she multitasks. It's demanding all her attention. She is very aware of the emotional states of people around her as well. She may perceive a frustrated man as yelling at her, even though he hasn't even said a word. So male and female is gender, but masculine and feminine are characteristics caused by testosterone or estrogen. Men tend to be more masculine and women tend to be more feminine. And it's not that women don't have masculine traits or men don't have feminine traits. They both have them. It's just that there's more for men to have masculine, and women have more estrogen, which is more feminine. Women can be single-focused and men can be multi-focused. estrogen creates a different configuration in the brain. Feminine consciousness is spread in every direction. It's called diffuse awareness. Single focus is on one result, and they are screening out irrelevancies and any consciousness spread in every direction. So as far as diffuse awareness, every task is worth doing, even the smallest thing, to quiet a woman's environment. This loud, disruptive environment condemns a woman for allowing it to exist perfectly. Example: a woman is hungry. She's on her way to the fridge and sees socks outside the laundry basket, and something has spilled in the fridge. So she does the laundry and then decides to clean out the fridge and eat. A man is hungry. He goes to the fridge and gets something to eat. Once he commits to meeting his need, he immediately eats and fulfills his need. Feminists would call this simpleton, but it's actually perfectly efficient. He doesn't see the laundry. He doesn't see the messy fridge. He only sees what he needs. In order to be part of a man's result, you would have to recognize the role you play in his results. He most wants to be your hero. He wants you to need him to be your hero. You're the center of his results and the reason for his results. Men play for points, and he most wants your points. Not letting a man play for points is emasculating. Men don't do something for the sake of getting it done. Nothing is worth doing. Much is worth providing. Men accomplish something for the impact it has on women. They ask how each task will make a woman's life better, easier, more fun, more satisfying. He asks, what will this task provide? So let's say your partner doesn't put away the dishes. He hasn't committed to it because he sees it as a task with no impact. If he is committed to the result of impressing you, putting the dishes away is not impressive. You would have to tell him that putting the dishes away is impressive to you. If you don't tell him, he will never know. He can't guess. He doesn't live in your brain. Ask what his result is, and he will tell you. Providing is the heart of every man. This resonates at the core of every man. A man's focus is in order to provide something for someone. When they provide, they become a hero. After a man has provided something, he goes through a transition ritual. At the completion of a result, he wants to enjoy what he provided to a woman. This allows him to focus on a new result. He has new inspiration, and he starts to determine his needs for providing that. If a man is doing nothing, he hasn't committed himself to a result. If he's doing nothing, he is not having an impact. When he does nothing, he is not providing anything. So puttering is worth doing. There's a big difference between depending on a man to provide and allowing a man to provide. There's a big difference between doing something yourself and constantly needing to prove that ability. Men don't provide due to women's inability. Men count on women to be capable, and he respects and is aware of your capability. Men provide because it gives him purpose. Men are aware of women's intelligence, capability, and competence. You don't need to prove it to him, nor disallow receiving. By providing, a man is showing his appreciation to his woman. Men don't want to compete with women. They want to cherish women. Go back to the Barbie movie. Notice the ending where Barbie is at the gynecologist's office. She is competing with men, saying he doesn't need to provide. She is going to pick her parts. When women compete with men, they don't allow him to provide. This is emasculation. Women are dishonoring themselves in the man's honoring of us. Men are impressed by women, adore women, try to be worthy of being great providers. Women see that men want to provide for them. She tries to get him to do something the same way she would motivate a woman, nagging and criticism. To a woman, everything needs to be done. Here is where the transformation happens. This is the opportunity to be equal partners to men, not competing and understanding both parties. Women can't be liberated and free until they understand misconceptions about men. Men don't think the same, they don't speak the same, they're not motivated the same way as women. Men are providers, not taskers. Know the benefit of what you are asking of a man. Put this into words using provide. All men want to provide. There's things he can provide, he can't provide but wishes he could, and there's things that he has absolutely no interest in providing. Okay, get out your journals. Notice what men are already providing to you and how they already take care of you. Before you ask a man for something, determine what it would provide. In your request, state what it would provide. After he's done what you ask, tell him what it actually provided. Practice this with all men. Notice what men can provide, wishes he could provide, and has no interest in providing. To ask for something he can't provide is cruel and emasculating. When you ask for something he can provide, he gives you all he has. Men naturally prioritize by impact after urgency. Just asking doesn't speak to a man. You must ask him to provide something. Men play for points. Be generous, not stingy. To determine what something will provide, ask, how will this make me feel? What will I be able to be? What will I be able to do? How will this change my life or my experience? When a man provides, thank him for what he provided and provide detail. What providing means to a man. Providing for his wife, the privilege to be her husband. Her appreciation is the best thing in the world. It's the heart of being a man. A woman has to let a man provide. Dueling providers means a man can never win and it's not worth his energy. Providing for his family, fulfill his obligations as a father. He may not receive appreciation for decades. It's more important that the mother of his family appreciates him being a father. Failing to provide is a larger fear than dying. Sorry, I'm hearing my daughter. She's upstairs singing. Okay, transformation. When a man provides, thank him for what he provided and provide detail. What providing means to a man. Providing for his wife, for his family, providing for his friends, good man and loyalty, and providing for his country is honor. Women can read a man's body language like a hawk. However, she can't hide her emotion. Men can easily read her face. Men have limited time and energy. They do things based on worth. Expenditure, the benefit versus the benefit of the result. How can he tell the benefit? He may see a woman struggling with something, time consuming. She may have a headache. That's when he tries to figure out what a woman needs so he can provide. Things that men often don't know. His affection makes her feel beautiful. He has a need to touch. Taking care of her makes her feel ladylike. Little tasks make her feel like she has a partner. The more that a woman notices a man providing, she gives points. The more he provides. So this is the heart of being a queen. Noticing the man providing and her accepting, receiving, giving points, and then he provides more. So this is the whole cycle of abundance. The key to the kingdom, realizing how much he provides. It's like waking up every day and writing in a gratitude journal. More and more comes to you as you receive it. For anything that went through For anyone that went through a divorce or previous breakup, look back and realize how memories can be suppressed and the situation was less painful by focusing on the bad things. By looking within, you can own what you lacked and maybe what the other person provided. This is not to bring you back to resentment and guilt. It's to release those feelings and realize you were doing the best that you could at that time. For anyone that grew up without a father, we can see what a father provides, and the list is long. Confidence, self-knowledge, family, answers. Women can bring out the best in a man, or she can't bring out the best in a man until she understands their relationship to sex. So this is going to be a critical point in your transformation. A lot of the rest of the webinar is going to be about understanding your relationship to sex. And that's because that's humanity's highest form of creation. Even if you're not looking to continue to expand your family, creation helps both you and your partner in continuing to provide abundance for both of you. Sex may be your deepest wound and your greatest fear. It could bring up all sorts of feelings, maybe shame and embarrassment. So let's dive in. Where are we in this transformation? We just discovered how diffuse awareness brings everything to a woman's attention, leaving her spending her energy on everything. Now she's able to filter by looking at what each task provides. She is then able to be more articulate and appreciative of her husband or partner. The management of her life has now become more bearable. We'll start with two scenarios: a partnership that is starting a family and a woman that is single looking for partnership. Starting a family can be met with some resistance in that there's making sure both are on the same page. One might want to start and the other may have waited or wanted to wait for whatever reason. For those women that want to conceive and maybe are having trouble, realize your maternal instinct is to have babies. So if you've been trying for a long time, realize you have well-developed masculine pursuit of results as conditioned in society. This may include reading books, ovulation kits, basal thermometers, apps, your schedule, and your husband and partner's schedule. Then there's the high cost of going to a specialist or a surrogate and or IVF. Focusing on sex is a bit redundant and self-defeating. The point of sex is reproduction. Unless there's a reason to worry about fertility, to focus on getting pregnant is not necessary, and it's harmful to your sex life. Great sex takes care of getting pregnant. If it's meant to be, God will make it happen. And the sooner you can let it go, the sooner you improve your sex life. So a couple should only have sex when they want to, not according to a schedule and a demand. No. If you only have sex when you want to, it's always going to be insufficient, even when you're not wanting to get pregnant. Most couples need to have sex more than that. So how should sex work? In the beginning, the sexual tension was high, which made it easy. As time goes on, two people wanting sex when conditions are favorable and opportunity is there sets a couple up for failure. Sex drives of both men and women depend greatly on hormone levels. Sex should be based on what it provides for your partner. Providing causes sex, which is a commitment to your partner. It's based on the benefit to your partner and your union. Desire makes sex juicy and fun, but you can cause wanting to spice up a sex encounter. So what does sex provide your partner? What do different sex experiences provide? There's the quickie, the banquet, making love, having sex, activities like kissing. So what does sex provide for a man? Physically, the act of sex fulfills a need and hunger, a distracting ache that grows unbearable over time. Hunger slows with age, a strong physical need to feel a woman inside her. With the release at climax, all tension that's built up floods out of him, leaving his body spent and relaxed, like pressing reset. It supplies essential nutrients not found in food or beverage. It gives him the fuel to be a man, protective, and provide. Without it, he feels emasculated and weak. Emotionally, he can let go. He doesn't have to be careful or conceal himself. He's not on guard. He can be vulnerable. When a woman touches him with her hands, he's moved beyond words. When a woman gives herself to him, he melts. As he feels her and feels her holding him, he feels safe to just be. The spiritual side of sex is more significant as he ages. The physical act is not as urgent, but it's essential. The emotional and spiritual parts of sex blend together and are very important. What he gets out of sex is depends on his ability to make his partner happy in bed. Almost everything great about sex depends on the woman feeling secure. It's about letting the woman experience his love for her in this way. When she surrenders to him and lets him give her pleasure, his entire spirit is altered. He is lifted to another dimension and boundaries blur. He flows into her and feels her flowing into him. The connection is felt for days. It nurtures him for days. So women don't realize that the sex is the same for her. She sees it as physical, emotional, spiritual, not just merely physical and fun. He may say that sex for him makes him feel at home. It is the need that a woman has, maybe when she's ovulating or in a state of a bitch and heat, as they might call it, that turns him off. Sex on demand can be a turnoff. Women can feel resentful for being in this state because it's when she most needs sex. Communication is the solution. Providing solves this. When a man knows, he feels a duty and motivation to provide. There's a difference between a demand and a duty. Demand is distasteful and it's a weird feeling. A duty to provide is rescuing. Sex makes a woman feel physical. When she's touched by a man, she gets in her body wakes up, she becomes alive and vital. When he's inside her, she feels at home and whole. It's hard for her to remember that feeling. Sex is physical, emotional, and spiritual. Each act contributes to its own dimension in sex. Kissing is the most personal and exciting. She's kinder, wiser, more generous when having regular sex. She feels more feminine, youthful, silly, serene, more herself. What is the impact of sex on your union? Sex is the physical representation of the spiritual bond that grows between a man and a woman. Men and women are a duality of spiritual and physical. A spiritual experience of communication and intimacy will almost immediately translate into a physical desire to be close. You may also find it's uncomfortable not to be close. Physical affection is an expression of spiritual intimacy. It expresses and gives it a sense of wholeness and completion. When physically united, there's no separation. Physical union reestablishes a spiritual connection and provides healing. Now let's move on to discuss when a person has not been so lucky as to have those experiences, or the healing it may involve to have that level of vulnerability. Child molestation is one of the cruelest results of human instinct and human need colliding. As a female, the the instinct to please and avoid displeasing is incredibly powerful. Instinct tells us our lives depend on being liked, agreeable, and not upsetting or disappointing to anyone. Grown women have a difficulty saying no at the chance it will anger a man. Women also have the instinct of being smaller and weaker. They compel us to adapt to be attractive to and supportive of whoever is perceived as bigger and stronger. A male adult would be perceived as infinitely bigger and stronger by a female child. Additionally, without men or a father in a female or young woman's life, the attention of any man would be very powerful. A man's need for sex is more intense than most women can imagine. Unhealthy men do not stop to examine the appropriateness of meeting this need with a child. This makes them dangerous. It is never appropriate with a child. These people usually may not mean harm, but they cause it. For those women that have been abused, are you blaming yourself? A child is never to blame. Upon being brutally honest with yourself, you may feel you liked it, not all of it, but some of it. The attention presents flattery. Then there's, I should have done X. It doesn't matter what you liked. It doesn't matter that you liked any or all of it. It wasn't your fault, and you were a child. It's always the adult's responsibility. How could you say no? How could you battle instinct telling you to keep that man as an ally no matter what? How could you say no when grown women can barely say no? It is time to heal any shame and guilt around this if you experience this. That involves surrendering the emotions and pain to be felt so that you can release and heal. The worst crime is the theft of innocence. Failing to heal and provide healthy relationships with men makes a child more vulnerable and susceptible to dangerous men. Seek compassion and also those who do not treat you as damaged goods. When your will is enabled and strengthened by love, you can move past this. If we look at the opposite cycle, any shame leads to despair. The despair locks up love and passion inside the chest. This imprisons the woman or child, cutting off their experience and expression, weakening a person's will. Hope bursts open that prison, freeing love and passion, and returns that person to the power of their will. When we first discussed what sex provides both the man and woman in their union, it shows hope for sex and leading to healing. For a woman to have gone through a sexual abuse of any sort, it's very easy to incorporate injury into your identity. They don't know who they are without it. You may hear this when a woman says, I'm a cancer survivor, for example, or I'm a rape survivor, or I'm an incest survivor. Some people react by deciding sex is all they're good for, which is equally damaging. You see this in women that are promiscuous. Some women react by avoiding sex. This leaves a woman missing out on the most joyous moments in a relationship. By releasing shame, a woman can look inside herself. What was once unbearable is no longer there. It's no longer an intense reality of something that happened to her. It did not happen to the adult her. It was the innocent, needy child who got in over her head. Could she forgive that child for her stupidity? Could she forgive herself for the simple need of love and acknowledgement from a man? Previously, you may not have known anything close to what was previously described about the great joy sex provides. If you have experienced any sort of sex abuse, you may remember struggling to have a satisfying sex life. Every moment of pleasure was a reminder of shame, which suffocated any joy you might have had. This may have led you to conclude that relationships are better without sex. Sex was a physical expression of a spiritual connection, a blend and tumble of emotions. to bring back that desire of physical union. Emotional and physical connectivity is to provide yourself a great source of healing. As we delve further into a woman's most intimate relationship with her partner, we will also look at the erection pill, such as Viagra. Women often perceive this pill as men misbehaving. Men can orgasm without an erection. The erection is for women's pleasure. The point is to provide pleasure for the woman. As men age, they may not rise to the occasion like in the past. This has nothing to do with the woman, and it's not necessarily psychological. As men age, their testosterone levels drop off. As a result, they have a greater verbal ability and more emotional experiences. His lack of erection has nothing to do with his lack of attraction for the woman in his life. A woman may feel she is not attractive enough to excite him. As a result, she may stop expressing her desire for him. She may feel afraid to hope for something that might not happen, but it is her desire for him that makes the system work. The erection pill is for her, meaning she doesn't have to hedge her bet or temper her desire. Based on where we are now in the transformation, you may have started to see some of the following changes. Your relationships, both intimate and in your career, may improve. You have a softer approach with men, which is more effective. You're no longer objectifying men. You're no longer a ball buster. You're showing up on men's side. You're better at listening. Your attitude adjustment is more feminine and potent. You're softer but stronger, and you're gentler and more real. People start to see you in a new light. You may easily find a man that will devote himself to you. So here's some homework. What can you admit to about the past? How do you understand men differently? How has your attitude changed? Do you now see men as men, not misbehaving women? Are you starting to see how diffuse awareness leads to a woman taking care of her environment rather than taking care of herself? The transformation comes from a woman making a commitment to keep her tank full. In order to do that, she's going to need support. By making a commitment to keep your tank full and recognize the need for your partner, we are now setting that relationship up for success. It doesn't matter if you have a partner or are single, you're still setting yourself up to receive. In this transformation to queen, you're starting to receive all that you are: abundant, magnetic, and confident. Intimacy in partnership provides this. You first had to have intimacy and honesty and vulnerability with yourself. So where are we in this transformation and where are we going? In the language of heroes, a woman receives her kingdom. She's a queen to herself, her relationship to life, and her relationship to men. We are finishing the first word, which is provide. We look at how our most intimate relationship provides for us, and providing is at the heart of every man. In order to support that relationship, let's set it up for success. What makes men receptive to sex and available? Okay, he can't have anything major on his mind. If he's in the middle of a project, he doesn't want to be distracted. He is only distracted by sex if he's at a breaking point where he needs sex. It's a part of survival. Challenges and accomplishments prime him for sex. Physical exercise pumps him up. He has to have enough rest. He may prefer morning or weekend sex. He doesn't need to feel connected first. It's the sex that connects him. This is different than women. Women need to feel connected before having sex, while men feel connected through sex. And we need to look at hours. There are times of the day that benefit both of you. Sleep should not be sacrificed for sex because it causes upsets, especially for sleep-deprived women, for example, new mothers. Both partners need to communicate this, not assume the other knows. If it's not communicated, you're setting yourself up for causing anger and resentment. Be clear and practical. Prevent feelings of hurt and rejection. A woman's invitation for sex may not be received by a man. Men's auditory and visual perceptions are not as sensitive as women's. Signals are not as clear as a woman thinks. Men may not even know what your signals are, and signals only work if they're interpreted correctly. Have you ever communicated directly what your signals are? It's important to know each other's signals so you also know when they are not initiating sex. Here's an example. A man wants to spoon before sleep. A woman may interpret this as a signal for sex, leaving her feeling angry because it was late at night and she needed sleep. But in fact, he just wanted a spoon. So communication is really important. The example may have brought up a trigger for some women. Maybe in past relationships, you realize that the misinterpreted signal is where the intimacy stopped. And as time went on, your partner rarely touched you and was affectionate with you. You may have the misconception that a man only touches you when he's intent on having sex. Expression of affection is always risky. If another is not receptive to it, we retreat. Realize the hurt of extending your heart and not having it reflected back. Okay, homework. List your needs for extraordinary sex. Cup filler. So these are just a couple of options to get you started. Cup filler is activities you include in your life that make you available and receptive to sex emotionally and physically. Hours. Times in which a request for sex will be received and when it doesn't work due to the sacrifice it requires. Signals, verbal and physical cues that clearly let your partner know you're asking for sex. Jumpstart, words, phrases, touch that make a person want sex now. Dessert, a pleasurable activity that's welcome almost any time and may get sex started, but it's not expected. It's kind of like real dessert. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't. You don't really need dessert, do you? I don't have dessert very often. End game, after sex expression of love. Use this list as a start and communicate with your partner so that both understand what makes each of you totally satisfied. At this point in the transformation, you may feel a dramatic change in your relationship to sex. If you felt self-conscious, you may now find that suffering is disappearing. You may feel curious and engaged. If you're single, you may have never wanted a lover, but now you may want one as a delightful way to experience a man. Men have as much to learn about women as women do about men. Men don't get touched the way women do. They rarely hug each other and may rarely hug a woman friend. Women are more likely to experience touch as a hug than men do. A jump start should not be casual. If a woman puts desire into it, he will feel it. Don't send mixed signals, send direct signals so your partner can interpret it. Desserts for men might be a BJ when the woman asks for her dessert, massages, touching a woman, feeling a woman's skin, a hard-on. Desire for your partner is the biggest turn-on. Single women in dating. Try a man that's not your type. He may not be a possibility for a long-term relationship, but he stimulates your most primitive instincts. When he meets her criteria for a future, she becomes an idiot due to women wanting to please men. Instinct compels women to be pleasing to anyone we perceive as a potential protector and provider. It causes a woman to become whatever she thinks they want and conceal what she thinks they wouldn't like. A woman's type makes her most susceptible to her instincts. So the man you're most attracted to brings out the worst in you. A woman is naturally a better person when she is with a man that's not her type, assumes no future with her, and there is nothing to protect by being careful. When a woman resonates with a man at a significantly deeper level than instinct, women are compelled to tell the truth and reveal their true selves. A woman should look for a man that a woman feels she wants him to know who she truly is. Cover charge. A tongue-in-cheek term referring to the cost someone might pay to get into an establishment. So whatever you require to be intimate with a person is your cover charge. The requirement or cost depends on the level of intimacy. For example, you probably wouldn't hold hands with a stranger. Think ahead of time of what you would require for each level of intimacy. This way, you won't feel pressured in the moment, and it's easy to set the boundary. Homework. Make a list of your cover charge for each level of intimacy. Make a menu of the kind of intimacy you might engage in. Make a detail of the circumstances for those intimacies. Tell the other person your list before you start dating so they understand your boundaries. Men develop in stages. You can read more about this in Keys to the Kingdom by Alison Armstrong. So a page is a young man, probably under 18. A knight is a guy, probably 18 to 30. And these are rough estimates. Prince, 30 to 42. King, 42 and older. Elder, 60 and older. So let's talk about kings. Some women feel intimidated by kings, as his stature of being is why women call them real men. Kings can't be manipulated like princes and knights. They won't tolerate being emasculated. They have rock solid sense of selves and won't put up with being diminished. Knights focus on adventure. Princes are building their kingdom, and kings are providing for their kingdom. This program is transformation to queen. As a woman, you have to be great at receiving no matter what stage the man in your life is. This completes the first word of the language of heroes, which is providing. As a queen, you learned a lot about providing and how others provide for you. Just by learning about it, you're receiving, and that is part of the transformation. Congratulations to you, queen. The second word in the language of heroes is need. This applies to all providers. A man, when providing, is the heart of his being. A woman who becomes a provider for her children also needs the word need. Sorry, I gotta take a break here. Okay. Men's relationship to their needs is often misinterpreted as misbehavior. When a provider is being accountable, they see the outcome as dependent on themselves. What they need is crucial to the result being produced and the family being provided for. An example. Man is eating a snack while the woman's cooking dinner. His need is critical and urgent. His hunger is immediate. He's already at a breaking point. She sees this as him not planning ahead for dinner, which is misbehaving, so emasculating. Men are single focused. They focus on a result until there's a breaking point, which is survival. In survival, I need, I get. Women have diffuse awareness. When women are aware they're hungry, she looks in the fridge, sees it's dirty, so she cleans it first. Then she eats. The dirty fridge was more compelling. To a woman, a man should delay eating a snack because dinner is more compelling. This is a woman expecting a man to relate to his needs the way she relates to her own needs. This is the same for the need for sex. That need can be so great that it reaches a breaking point. It is the closest thing men experience to the state of distraction most women live in. Men's need for sex is a primal instinct and the fuel for providing and protecting. Women can't really imagine needing sex that badly. They have no idea how much the life-giving interplay of sexuality and sensuality supports men in being their best selves. Withholding sex is the most effective way to emasculate a man. That's why it's so detailed here. You're a queen when you have illuminated how sex provides power for both of you. Fuel that keeps both partners providing sex, food, appreciation, support, telling each other the difference you make in their lives, and men play 4 points. In our dinner and snack example, the point is women relate to a man's needs the same as theirs, and men relate to women's needs the same as theirs. So a man sees a woman's needs as critical and urgent. If a woman is considered someone a man is accountable for, he will relate to that woman's needs as critical and urgent. Just because a man is committed to meet her needs doesn't mean he knows exactly what those needs are. A woman needs to be clear why she needs it and what she needs. If a woman actually needs something different than what he's providing, she has to tell him using the word need. She should tie it together with what she needs, what it would provide, and what points she is providing. Queen, how to tell a man what you need. First, ask for a time to talk about it, how long it will take, and make an appointment. When it's time to talk, thank him for what a great provider he is. Men play for points and they play to win. Tell him what you need. Be specific and use the word need. Tell him what receiving this will provide for you. Ask him if there's anything he would need in order to give you what you need. Ask him if there's a way to show appreciation for giving me this. So there's 3 categories of needs. Survival needs, which are needs in order to ensure the well-being for you, your partner, and your children. There's quality of life needs to fulfill your desire to be all that you want to be. And then there's needs given up on receiving, needs where the heart's desire has been abandoned. When someone doesn't get their needs met, there's always a consequence. It affects well-being and the ability to function the way our commitments require. When people have conflicting needs, they judge importance of their needs over another's, which invalidates the other person's needs. This turns them into an obstacle and an adversary, setting up a defensive reaction. Women have a weak relationship to getting their needs met, especially if they are mothers or were raised by single mothers. This keeps her from being her best self, creates long-term resentment, and is deadly to being in love. In this transformation to queen, you're honoring both your needs and your partner's needs as completely valid and important. When there's conflicting needs, try playing let's make a deal. Everyone starts by saying, if I had it my way. Deals are made by applying your heart's desire to the existing circumstances. The answer comes from your heart, not your head. The deal is not complete until both parties are complete. The person most upset by the situation can go first. They must describe all their way in complete detail, then describe what having it would provide for them. When all sides have provided their heart's desires, what it would provide for them, the creative problem solving begins. A man can focus on making his needs clear, understanding yours, and solving the problem. By being on the same team, you both put your heads together to accomplish the best for both of you. It helps to write it down. The point is to try to give the most you can while receiving the least you need to be happy. Most women default to the mother expression of femininity. Women are naturally self-sacrificing. They're proud of being this way. They sacrifice time, money, attention to husband and families. Often it's spoken like a complaint, and they may also compete with other women for who's more self-sacrificing. Diffuse awareness provides the greatest energy drain. So again, we're going back to those 3 categories of needs, survival needs. Women get these met at the last possible minute, such as eating, sleeping, urinating, defecating, and having babies. Quality of life needs. Women relate to this as, it would be nice. An example, her body aches and she thinks a massage would be nice, but she might not go get one. Needs that she has given up on getting. When she has given up on it, she cannot put her heart into it anymore. If they give up on something they need from their partner, the loss of confidence will have them be less passionate and generous in the relationship until they're unwilling to go without that need. At that point, they're compelled to find it. A queen pays attention to what her needs being met gives her, so she can be something for others. So we've got some homework here. Correlate what men provide for us with what that allows women to do and be. Look at everything women need in terms of what it would allow women to be and do or give to others. Women are more likely to get what they need instead of self-sacrificing. This is the shift from mother to queen. Look at your needs from what they would allow you to be in the future. This will put you in the point of view to receive them instead of demand them. Feminism, the information age, and birth control. They all provide opportunities for women, but does that equate to women receiving more of what they need? And the same goes with divorce. Do you always get what you need by being independent, or only what you justify you deserve? Most women have become self-sufficient in regards to their needs. When they discover a need, they provide it for themselves. It works fine if you can give yourself. When a woman has needs that must come from another, such as love, touch, help, attention, they become stymied. They may try to talk themselves out of it. They try to figure out how they deserve it and demand it. Let's go back to that example of cleaning the house. You may tell your partner all the things you do around the house and therefore deserved for him to do the dishes. Women ask for too little and demand too much. Why doesn't deserve and demand work? There's only 2 responses: resist or submit. Demand itself eliminates the possibility of giving. Ask for too little. The heart of a man is a provider. They want to provide, but they don't know what women need. Women have to ask using the word need. Part of asking is him finding out what he needs in order to give a woman what she's asking for, which is different from a demand, and the attitude is different. You need what you're asking for, but providing it for you is still a gift from a man or a woman. There's only 2 responses to a demand: resist or submit. On the other end of the resist or submit is an angered or irritated person. That person is left angry for being attacked and then having to defend themselves. A demand is an argument that you owe them something. Resistance is the disagreement that something is owed. Even with submittal, it may still not mean you agreed with the demand. With submittal, it was not worth the fight. Even doing what was asked leads to resentment. By submitting to the demand, you don't want to give generously or happily, even if the person wanted to give before the demand was made. The queen's relationship to her needs exists in a different time zone than where the demand comes from. Where does demand come from? Where does deserving or entitlement exist? It's in the past. Deserve, to have a right to because of acts or qualities, referencing earning something. If you earn something and deserve it, can it be a gift? No. If it's earned, it's payment, not a gift. You can't deserve a gift. Our culture believes the opposite. So we've got some homework. Who do I want to be? What qualities and capacities, abilities, ways of interacting do I want to have? Figure out what I need to be who I want to be. When am I naturally expressing my best or favorite qualities? When can I be who I want to be? You're correlating needs being met with what we can be for others to make sure we meet our needs. Demanding what we feel we deserve leads to two responses: resist or submit. Both create resentment and distance. So here I have made a list of needs. And this is kind of a summary of everything that we're learning. So I created this contract offer, and as a single woman, I wanted a partnership. And in order to figure out what I needed in order to have that partnership, I wrote this down. And you can certainly use it if you want to use it, or type it up and let it cater to or customize it to whatever your needs are. So this is a contract offer. Silence is not acceptance of the contract. It requires written signature. Sovereign means to serve. I, Crystal Meach, am a woman of sovereign status. In this capacity, I have a duty to serve God, my husband and family, and my country, the Republic. I am a living soul that lives within the confines of my skin, created in the image of God. In order to commence holy union commitment with my husband and to serve as his wife, I have the following needs, conditions, and circumstances. While I may be able to articulate my needs, I may not have the insight to know what my chosen husband needs in order to meet these needs. In order to meet this, I would need written and oral communication from him. I recognize 3 categories of needs. Survival needs, defined as providing to ensure the well-being of, eating, sleeping, urinating. I forgot defecating there. Sexual intercourse, reproduction, healthcare, shelter, care of sons and daughters. Thrive needs, defined as allowing one to be the man or woman that he or she desires to be. And then needs given up on receiving, defined as admission that one or both of us have abandoned our heart's desire. Having my needs met provides and allows me to serve God, my husband and family, and my country. I recognize from past experience that independence does not result in receiving what I need, but justifying what I feel I deserve. Through holy union with my husband, I receive more than I could ever deserve, as entitlement exists in the past. What my husband provides for me allows me to be and receive more than I could ever be as an independent single woman. It is my desire to create a holy union with my chosen husband that meets both our needs for respect, appreciation, admiration, listening, sharing, trust, and companionship. In order to fulfill this desire, I would need help. I admit that what I'm trying to accomplish is beyond my strength, knowledge, abilities, and resources. I would need help building a life together, being companions to each other, enjoying and witnessing our lives together, and helping getting through some of the tough spots that we have both carried up to this point. As an independent woman, I recognize how I have to keep my life and goals small enough to handle single-handedly. I am committed to listen to learn, to determine if I can commit to the man receiving this offer. I recognize that his opinion is made up of his values and what he deems trusted information. His values express who he is as a man. I understand that as he shows me what is important to him, this allows me the opportunity to discover my admiration for him and if our values align together. It is my desire to accept accountability consciously when it is a great privilege, such as when I'm a mother, a wife, and serving God. This is a masculine trait, as accountability requires testosterone. I have a fraction of men's testosterone level, and this energetically exhausts me as a woman. That is not to say that I don't value self-sufficiency or accountability, but I need to be consciously aware of how to take care of myself so that I can meet the commitment I have made to my partner. So again, this is certainly something that it provides all the pieces of the language of heroes. So if you want to type this up, go right ahead and use it for creating what you want to create with your husband or partner. So we're getting back into chapter 5, transformation. The discussion of infidelity. In most cases, infidelity is both predictable and preventable. The biggest need men have is for a positive, life-giving attention. And so do women. There is no relationship without attention. Paying attention to one another creates connection, and it's needed in the form of respect, appreciation, admiration, listening, sharing, trust, and companionship. For men, because of single focus, it's usually when they have totally given up on getting what they need from their mate. For women, because of diffuse awareness, they seem to wander off with the first person who gives them the attention they're starving for. Statistics show both men and women engage in infidelity. So, homework, ask your partner, is there anything you need from me that you have given up on receiving? Is there anything you need from me that you are about to give up on receiving? Is there anything you need from me that is really hard to receive? The more you know and love men, the more painful it will be for you to see how ordinary women treat them. It's important to support the friends that share your view and share your viewpoint in reality. Just because a woman says she wants help doesn't mean she's ready to accept help. You must promise that you won't teach the hero's language to anyone who has not yet given up the right to emasculate men. This is a transformation that not all women are willing to walk. You may be challenged to let go of years of anger and resentment in order to use the words need and provide appropriately. You may be challenged to rethink self-sufficiency and independence, like your choice to give up allowing others to provide for you. So we're at the third word, which is help. Needing help means you're in over your head. What you're trying to accomplish is beyond your strength, knowledge, abilities, and resources. You might know you need help from the beginning. That is the best time when you can set it up. Sometimes a project is beyond you when you're in the middle of it. This is not a pleasant realization for a man to think he can do something and then find out he can't. Men ask for help because women won't give up the result women are after. If a woman needs help, does a man despise her for being helpless? Not normally. There's no shame in needing help. It depends on what she needs help with. If the simplest things in life are beyond her, he will deem her helpless. He may provide what she needs temporarily, but it will be nearly impossible to commit to a lifetime of that. Men want the strongest, most capable woman they can find in a committed partner, but helping is what a wife or husband is for, to build together, be companions, enjoy and witness each other's lives, help get through the tough spots, and men are more compelled to partner than women. A compulsion to get married is not the same as a desire to partner. Helping is an honorable thing to do. The bigger your commitments, the more we want help. A person who is determined to be self-sufficient has to keep her life and goals small enough to manage single-handedly in order to ensure they never need help. If you ask a man for help, he'll rarely say, "Oh, that depends." His response will be, "Yes, what?" And notice he commits before he knows what's needed. What is the difference between asking for help and needing to be saved? Real men do not like to have to save someone. If a woman needs to be saved, she didn't ask for help in a timely manner. She failed to prepare properly and to anticipate accurately. Saving her comes with a lecture. Rescuing a woman in an emergency or from a situation she created herself is one kind of saving men are compelled to provide. Men like to solve women's problems and save them the effort. They'd rather women spent their lives creating the magic that only women can when women's bodies are not weighed down. So if you're in a relationship, you may want to think about how you can ask for help sooner. If you're single, you may want to have a bigger life. You may realize you rarely ask for help. You work all the time. You may or may not have a commitment to help other women and want to feel part of something important. Listen to learn. As you open yourself up to listen more to your partner, it provides him the more time to express his opinions. You may be afraid to disagree with his opinions. A man's opinions come from two sources combined to form an opinion. His first source is his values, which are qualities that express his identity, who he is as a person and who he is as a man. Kings have rock-solid values. Princes and knights are more malleable. His second source is trusted information. Men have a good reason for everything they do. Some are more difficult to figure out. Men combine their values with the information that they trust to form an opinion. This is why two men with the same information could have different opinions by having different values that they apply to that information. Forming an opinion is a conscious and committed act. Men will defend their opinions to the death. A man vigorously defends his opinions because they are always an expression of himself. Understanding what an opinion is made of is the key to listening to a man. So you're not listening to a man to agree or disagree. You're listening to a man for the result you want. Agreeing as a woman makes you feel more connected and safe. You may be compelled to agree in order to be connected. Agreement is merely that you see the correctness of an opinion. That doesn't make a man feel a connection. As women, if we disagree, we mostly want to stop talking about it because each word creates more distance, which leads to anxiety and disconnection. What happens when you express disagreement with a man? If you present it respectfully, you will be fine. But don't expect them to welcome it. Your source of information will be challenged along with your values. When you're listening, ask yourself what matters to this person. What are they showing me that is important to them? As you go through this transformation, your values start to change. This leads to changes in relationships, ones you align with and ones you don't. You will find yourself being accountable for your transformation. Accountability requires testosterone. It's not that women can't be accountable. It's that they have to accept accountability consciously when it's a privilege, such as being a mother. Women have to take care of themselves. Knowing being accountable will tire them beyond what it looks like they are getting done. There Is there an alternative for women? The alternative is for women to switch modes from providing to supporting and enhancing. So homework. Use the word help in asking a man for something that you need that you could not provide for yourself, or your life would be better if they helped you with it. Thank them again for using the word help. Thank them again using the word help. Pay attention to all the things men do that save you from something. It could be danger or drudgery. Acknowledge them sincerely using the word save. The fourth word in the language of heroes, problem. When you say you have a problem, men perk up. Problems have solutions. When you say you have an issue, a man's energy drains. Issues are interminable to them, like they can't win. When what a man provides never amounts to more than the energy he spends, he thinks he can't win. The last word in the language of heroes is hero. This speaks to the heart, soul, and spirit of every man. It's effective, it calls to him, it rouses him, and it honors him. It's not learned, it's there at birth. It appeals to even to small men. Kill the dragon, rescue the princess, save the day. The soul of a man is hero. The greatest gift a man provides is being his woman's hero. What is a hero compared to a good man? For men, they would have to say, like, save a life in order to qualify as a hero for themselves. But for a woman, men are heroes by being accountable to what matters, by providing what is needed, by helping a stranger, by saving a spider, by making a woman feel safe, beautiful, treasured, special, valued. But for a woman, men are heroes by being accountable to, okay. Okay, so we're gonna flip over to homework. And this is the last homework, and it's asking you, acknowledge the heroes in your life. See the hero in every man. Use the word hero to acknowledge them and their noble deeds. A queen's epitome of femininity, naturally generous with her appreciation. I think there was something missing here. I'll just read this over. Okay, heroism is an act and an acknowledgement. To acknowledge a man as our hero requires recognition of his truly noble intentions. He might have a hard time receiving that acknowledgement. He may need help receiving it, and you are just the queen to make sure they need them to. So I just want to say, congratulations, Queen. You did it. Thank you so much for making it to the end. And I can only hope that you will find value in this program that other women need. So if this is a program that you know other women need, certainly refer them. I appreciate any shares and likes of this program. Cheers to your transformation and all that you've received. There's 2 books that I used to create this program, and both are by Alison Armstrong, The Queen's Code and Keys to the Kingdom. You can find me, Crystal Meech, on YouTube and Rumble channels. My channels are Tao of the Heart, Sovereignty in the Matrix, Wealth is a Mindset, Crystal's Tarot, Advocate for Divorced Moms. You can also find me on Truth Social, Tao of the Heart 333, Facebook, Alignable, Wealth is a Mindset, LinkedIn. I have 2 accounts, Crystal Meech and Wealth is a Mindset, Be Connected, and Vimeo. So it was so nice. I'm so happy that you made it through, and I certainly support you as a queen, and welcome to the kingdom. So certainly email me if you are so inclined. I'd love to hear how you use this content and what you learned as part of your transformation. So, with that being said, signing off. Have a great day.